All right, we'll call this committee hearing to order. Welcome everyone to the Transportation Committee. Today is Monday, March 24th, 2025. The time is 3:04 p.m. We are in room 1100 of the Minnesota Senate building. In accordance with the rules of the Senate, the following members will be participating remotely in today's hearing. Senator Herr from St. Paul. Quorum is present. Members, we have three bills on the agenda. I believe we're going to lay them all over for possible inclusion. And we will kick it off with Senate File 2028, Senator Jasinski. Senator Jasinski, welcome.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. I have Senate File number 2028 in front of you this afternoon. I want to thank you for hearing it. This actually, a few years back, we actually got approved for online driver's training. What this bill would be a little bit more flexible, so if you're online or in person, you can kind of shift back and forth depending if there's an issue in the in-person, you can go to online as long as they're identical curriculum is in both. With that, I'm going to turn over to my testifier to go into further details with that. So,
welcome, Pete Hosmer. Welcome. Please introduce yourself and proceed with your testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Committee members. My name is Pete Hosmer. I own a A+ driving school. I'm also the president-elect of MIDSIA, which is all the school teachers that do driver's education. So I'm the face of driver's education in Minnesota. And this bill, so right now we're allowed to do in-person classes or teleconference classes or completely online. However, we can't have a student go between in-person classes and completely online. So in the real world, this works. A student does driver's education for 2 weeks. If they miss a class, they want to make up that class. And right now, as it sits, they have to wait until our next in-person class comes around, so they might have to wait a month or two to make up a specific class. What we'd like to be able to do is have that student be able to make up that class completely online, as long as the curriculums are the same.
Thank you. And, okay, we'll pause for questions, and then in a moment we'll have Ms. Boyd present the fiscal note. Questions at this point, members? All right, would anyone else like to testify on Senate File 2028? All right. Ms. Boyd, would you like to help us understand the fiscal note?
Mr. Chair, yes, the fiscal note shows a zero cost on the front page, but if you turn to page 2, there's just some assumptions that the language of the bill will require a curriculum review by DVS, but that can be done with existing staff as part of regular duties. There is a memorandum of understanding between DVS and driver education providers, and that would need to be updated according with the language of the bill. And that also can be done with existing staff. And then there will be some minimal MnDrive programming related to the electronic option to show that the education has been complete when a student completes the driver education. And that is on the bottom of the page under expenditure, about $3,494 worth of MnDrive programming, and that can be absorbed in the existing contract.
Great. Questions to that, members? All right, Senator Pop.
Thank you, Chair Dibble. So no questions, but I just wanted to give a comment that many young people will thank you very much, Senator Jasinski, for this bill. My daughter, 2 years ago, went for her driving test and actually went through her permit process and was one of those who missed a class and had to wait till the next one. And they're like, she's just like, Mom. And I go, why did you miss that class? You know, but they're in a rush to of course, get their education so they can start driving. And the waiting for the next class, sometimes it just takes a long time. This makes absolute sense. And so I just want to thank you for bringing this bill.
Thank you, Senator Pa. Anything further, members? Final word, Senator Jasinski.
Thank you, members, for considering this bill. I think it's a common sense bill that will, as Senator Pa said, this will really make it much easier for students and parents across the state to get their kids through driver's training.
Great. Thank you. With that, Senate File 2028 is laid on the table for possible inclusion. And I will mention that Senator McCune is joining us, also participating remotely from Duluth. And we'll move on to Senate File 1108, Senator Jasinski. What did I say? 1102. I don't know why I said 8. I was looking at 2. I said 8. 1102, Senator Jasinski.
Thank you, Senator Dibble and members. This is a bill brought forward to me by my local city of Medford and the school district a few years back. The speed limit got changed. It had been 45 miles per hour for many, many years. There was a road construction project that went through, and they raised the limit to 55. The portion, or the issue of concern here is it runs directly in front of a school with lots of bus traffic, lots of semi-traffic, things like that. So there's been some near misses and some concerns both by the residents of Medford, by the school district of Medford, and by a bus transportation company, which is also located there. So I have Mayor Danny Thomas here, and I also have John Anhorn, who is the chair of the school board, here to testify. There was a resolution that it received. I don't know if it got in your packet or not. I apologize. Transitioning over from one LA to another, I might not have missed that, or I might have missed that, but we did get a resolution from both the school board and the city in favor of this. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to my testifiers.
Great. Thank you so much. Whoever would like to start first, welcome. Please introduce yourself for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Hi, my name's Danny Thomas. I am the mayor of Medford. So in 23, the road got reconstructed. For 22 years before that, the speed limit past the school was 45 miles an hour. The school is on a hill, and it's very hard to see both directions. And I don't know if you got some of the pictures of that, but as you climb up the hill, you pass some houses on the right, and it's 30 miles an hour. Past that, then it's a preferred 45 mile an hour zone. And right there, at that point, just past that, there's a right-hand turn into the school, which the buses go in. 14 buses enter that each morning and each afternoon. Where they come out of there, they either got to go to the west or the east. So some don't cross traffic, some got to cross over traffic to go back to the west towards the town. You go past that about, I'm going to say 150 feet, you got the entrance to the school, the main entrance. So you got 432 vehicles that enter that each day. They're dropping off 600 kids. The school buses handle 350 kids. Then they come out of there, and they either got to cross over the traffic to the left, going back to the west, or they got to go to the right. Well, when they go to the right, just past that, about another 100 feet, 150 feet, the bus station is. So the buses are leaving the school. They're trying to enter their parking zone, and at that point in time, you got the people leaving the school. So that creates cross traffic again. The county commissioner, we've met with them. We've met several times trying to get this done at the local level. We would just like to see it 45 miles an hour, not a suggested 45 miles an hour. At different times during the day, people have got tickets for speeding because you can go 55 there too. There's 55 mile an hour sign there too. So how do you can't see the parking lot even of the school coming up from either side. And another main issue is coming down into town from the east to the west. You got people hauling grain, semis, and they're coming down across the school, right in front of the school, because down below the hill, they actually turn in to unload the grain at an elevator. So it's very important. There's 100 staff that also enter each day. The second driveway, it all happens on that second driveway. And if you're up there in the morning, you can see. It's such an important issue, I believe, to the community. And it's kids. We got to understand it's kids driving. It's slippery in the wintertime. It's windy. The other important part about it, the sheriff, they sit there every day, morning and night, because they believe it's an issue. If you talk to any of them, they believe that it's an issue coming up the hill. It's a concern from the public. We believe in the public, it's a safety issue for our community. The road was never annexed in. The school is annexed into the city. The road, for whatever reason, previous administration never annexed it in. So, John, you want to go from there?
All right, thank you, Mayor.
Yes.
Welcome.
John Amhorn, I'm the chairman of the Medford School Board. And basically, I'll reiterate very similar issues, but all said and done, it's all about the safety of our kids. We can't educate them if we can't get them safely into the building. And that entrance, our entrances to the school property essentially sit right on the crest of that hill. And designed that way or not, it's something we have to deal with, and we're just concerned with the safety of getting our kids in and out of the building.
Thank you very much. Questions, members? Senator Johnson Stewart.
Thank you. I'm driving it right now, and I'm wondering what this brown building is. That's just, it's this one right here?
That's the bus company.
So there's the entrance for the, looks like track and field area, and then there's the bus company, and then there's the entrance for the main parking lot?
Mayor or Superintendent.
Okay. Okay. If we're going from east to west, the first building you come to is that maroon colored building there. That's the bus garage.
Yep.
Then that next driveway is actually the school's main entrance, which is actually the very crest of that hill. And then the next driveway to the west of that is what we call the bus corral. That's where the buses turn in, kind of go into that clover leaf. We actually have that closed off to the general traffic, basically. Other than at big events, we'll open a gate for that. But we're concerned with that, with the speed coming through that area. Buses can't accelerate as fast as cars do.
Senator Johnson Stewart.
So I can see that it's posted for 45 right now on the school advisory signs,
The advisory, yes.
but you want the entire area to be at 35, it says here?
Chair?
Mayor.
That sign there is, it's preferred 45.
School.
It's
It's
to the
advisory.
school.
Advisory 45.
It's advisory, yeah, it's a preferred sign. It's not 45. For 22 years, 2002, it was 45. We had no issues up there. So we want it to go back to 45. They're already saying in the county that they're fine with the preferred 45. We're saying, why do we need that 55 in there, flying by, people coming in, flying by, and having the risk with kids driving, and it's very, we believe, very unsafe for our community.
Board Chair.
Also, the commissioner would say, our Steele County Commissioner, he is backing us, and he says, too, that he believes the residents should say what happens up there because it's a safety concern. He's been there with us.
Chair Anhorn.
And I would also add, it is with the position of our building off the road a little bit, not very far, but with the visibility lines, it's hard to see if there's an event at the school to know, if there is an event, now we need to go 45, those kind of things. We just want clarity.
Thank you. Senator Johnson Stewart.
Well, for what it's worth, I support this because at a crest of a hill, the faster cars go, the harder it would be to have the appropriate turnout, especially a left turn out of there. So I'm just a little confused. Where would you want it to be 35? It says there's 45 for one segment and 35 in another.
Senator Jasinski.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair and Senator Johnson Stewart. So the 35, I believe, is from the railroad tracks to the first turn goes into a residential area, and that's where it actually increases to 55. So, and these guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but it would be 35 from the railroad tracks on the west up until the 6th Street, which is the second residential turn. And there's a number 9 right there on the map that should have been provided.
I see it.
And then as you get about halfway up that hill, it switches to 55. And then it continues on 55 all the way to continue on. So they want to make it 45 there and eliminate that 55-mile-an-hour sign. So that would stay 45 all the way until, I believe, about Cedar Avenue.
Senator Johnson Stewart.
Thank you. Thanks for accommodating me. So is this north?
That is north to the top of the page, yes.
Yes.
So then I assume coming out of Medford, this is already 35 west of the railroad tracks?
Thank you. Mr. Chair and Senator Johnson, that is correct.
So then it would just make a continuous 35 until you got to the railroad tracks, then 45 through the school zone? Well,
No.
I think that's a good
Chair?
idea.
Mayor Medford.
Whatever.
It's actually 30 miles an hour.
Oh.
30. I'm
Okay,
sorry, 30,
it's
yes.
30 miles an hour till you turn to the development of the houses on 6th Street. From the railroad tracks, leaving the town, you cross the railroad tracks, it's 30 until you get there. Then you get to the 55 and the preferred signs. We do not want the 55 or the preferred. We would like, once you get by that housing development, that it turns to 45 over the crest of the hill. That's what we would really like.
No more
All
questions.
right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Senator Jasinski.
Thank you, and maybe I'll turn this over to our council, but I believe on line 1.13, I believe that should be corrected. Instead of 35, it should be 30, which would be that. So, Mr.
Mr. Greenfield.
Mr. Chair and Senator Jasinski, if that is what we can make that as an oral amendment, and if someone wants to make the motion to delete on page 1, line 13, delete 35 and insert 30.
Senator Jasinski makes that motion. Any questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries. Further questions? Senator Farnsworth.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I'm just wondering, maybe Senator Jasinski or somebody can answer this. I looked at a map on my phone because I kind of wanted to get an idea of how far away the school is from the town. And it looks like the school is right next to the town. It doesn't make sense to me why the speed limit would suddenly be 55 right there at the school, and there's the preferred 45. Like, where's the no coming from? Why are we looking for a legislative solution?
We've
What an
met-
excellent question.
Chair?
Mayor.
We've met with the local engineers and 4 or 5 times, talked to them. We don't understand it either, to be honest with you. We're like, why? You're right, it's right there. Why does it have to be 55? It doesn't make sense to anybody. It's just a safety hazard.
And quite honestly, it was prior
Chair.
to, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Quite honestly, it was that way prior to this latest little resurfacing that they did, so.
Senator Farnsworth.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for that answer. I mean, it's common sense. Any school that I've ever seen that's sort of on the edge of town, the speed limit is slow. It just seems, I don't know, dumb, I guess, for lack of a better word, that they would have the speed limit that high right where the school is. So I think this is a good bill. Thank you, Senator Jasinski.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Senator Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Senator Jasinski, I'm obviously supportive as well. Maybe just add a little bit of light that we had a similar situation in Cass and Manorville schools. And the problem was, as the development was happening, the speed limits didn't keep up, or as the new schools were put in, the speed limit, in this case, reduction didn't keep up. But the thing that slowed us down, it finally did get changed, by the way, but it took a long time. Apparently, MnDOT has to do a speed study in order to change speed limits. So that's where we kind of ran into kind of slowing stuff down a little bit. But I think you've got a good solution here, Senator Jasinski.
So MnDOT has met with the engineers. They supposedly have done a speed study, and they did change it up. That's where they come up with this preferred 45 and left the 55 involved. And that's when we said, we got to do something with this. So we talked to John about it, and then that's where we are today.
Thank you.
Well, I'll take the opportunity to mention that the Minnesota County Engineers Association sent a letter in opposition to this and trying to mount some sort of a justification on this 55-mile-per-hour zone in these geographic circumstances and adjacent to a school. I'll just say to the county engineers who are listening, this is unacceptable. Letters like this do not help your case at all. There is no one who sits on this panel, I think, that thinks a 55-mile-an-hour zone here makes any sense. With that, we are going to hear from the Department of Transportation and the speed study that was done and the methodology they used to justify this decision. So we're going to invite them up next. Are you finished, Senator Nelson? Thanks. All right. All right. Mr. Rudin, could I invite you forward with the folks from MnDOT who can help us understand what the methodology that was used. That also takes into context, I understand, the decision to change the speed from 45 miles an hour to 55 miles per hour, approaching a school at the crest of a hill adjacent to a small town. Thank you. Welcome. Mr. Rudin, why don't you start us off?
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Eric Rudin, MnDOT Government Affairs. And I know that this is, as Senator Nelson was explaining, this is an issue that we deal with periodically. And just to remind folks, there was a change that the legislature made last year to hopefully reduce the times that this situation occurs where we have a community who wants to see a lower speed limit, and then we do the engineering and traffic investigation, and it actually results in a higher speed limit. But that change made last year was to refer to an update at the manual on uniform traffic control devices, where instead of just looking at the speed of traffic, we would take more consideration into the context of, is there a school nearby? Are there a high number of driveways? What is the sort of land use in that area? And so I think, we're still hopeful that will help. It obviously didn't work as intended in this particular situation, but I think we're hopeful that moving forward, we will have less of these occurrences. But with that, perhaps I could ask Mr. Johnson, who is involved in actually conducting and overseeing the speed study, to talk about the specifics of this location.
So thank you, Mr. Dean. I will just mention for the record and for the benefit of the public listening as well as our committee, I took some time over the weekend to look up the most current language in the manual on uniform traffic control devices as released and adopted by the Federal Department of Transportation, Federal Highway Administration. And of course, this has been an active discussion for a long time, the methodology used for a very, very long time, and that's why local units of government typically don't ask MnDOT to come in and do speed studies when they want a stretch slowed a little bit, taking into context kids and neighborhoods and things like that, because there is liable to get an increase in the speed as they are a decrease, because the methodology was to clock all the observable traffic and then set the speed limit at the 85th percentile of the speeds that they were observing. So a very, very narrow measure, of course, which often results in the opposite. Somewhat responsive perhaps to design features, so I want to unpack the design of this roadway, which the Minnesota County Engineers Association cites the design of the road. So maybe we should have a discussion on the design of roadways in these kinds of settings. But the MUTCD, or what do you call it, the MUCDUC, says on urban and suburban arterials, on rural arterials that serve as main streets to developed areas of communities, the 85th percentile speed should not be used to set speed limits without considering contextual factors. So my threshold question is, what methodology do we use? Do we just rely on the 85th percentile? Do we take a look at the context in this particular circumstance?
Mr. Chair, Senators, I'm glad to have a chance to talk to the committee about this. One of the things that we found is we want people to slow down. We want a slower. Oh, I apologize. Ken Johnson, I'm the Assistant State Traffic Engineer with MnDOT's Office of Traffic Engineering. We want slower speeds. We want people to reduce that kinetic energy, so if they do have a crash, then we have less severe consequences that actually occur. But it's been our experience over many, many years that speed limit signs alone do not control speeds. People take the roadway environment into consideration when determining what speed they go. So the MUTCD used to talk about primarily relying on the 85th percentile to set a speed limit. The new criteria and what we've been following when we set our speed limits now is we look at the context of the entire situation, we look at the roadway characteristics, we look at the 85th percentile, but the new guidance also has us look at the average speed that people are going, and it has us look at the what's called the 10-mile-an-hour pace. And that 10-mile-an-hour pace is the speed at which most people are driving in that particular area. And our guidance that we have developed based on what's in the METCD is that we don't want to set the speed limit below the 10-mile-an-hour pace, because when we do that, we know that it's going to get violated quite a bit. So, as I said before, one of the things that the drivers take into consideration when choosing a speed is they look at what's around them, they look at the farm fields that might be there, they look at how offset buildings are, they look at the presence of pedestrians, if there's a sidewalk in that particular area, and they choose a speed. And if the speed limit sign does not match what their expectation is, they generally don't follow that speed limit. So just putting up a speed limit sign and expecting that to control the speeds is something that we've got decades of experience that it's not very effective. And so in this situation, I looked at some of the information, and the average speed for this corridor is above 50 miles per hour. And our pace is just a little bit below the 50-mile-an-hour pace, just below the 50-mile-an-hour number. And so the decision was to go with the 55 miles per hour as the speed limit in this particular area. Even setting the 50 mile an hour, if we were to go that route, that's still below what the average driver is driving on this corridor. And our experience has been is that if most of the drivers are ignoring the speed limit sign and you've got some people following the speed limit sign, that leads to something we call a speed differential, which can increase the risk of crashes occurring in a particular area. So those are a lot of the factors that went into the decision on how the speed limit was chosen for this overall corridor. Historically, there have not been a lot of crashes in this area, and the crash that did occur in this area over the past years was due to someone not being able to make a left turn. And so the left turn lane was added, and that is a change that was made in order to improve the safety on that corridor.
Thank you. Senator Johnson-Stewart.
Thank you. This would be a great problem for my geometric design class. I wonder if Mr. Johnson could talk about, did you guys look at a gap analysis, given that this is on vertical curvature? So the simple math problem would just be to see if a student in a passenger vehicle has enough sight distance to make a left-hand turn out of the main parking lot with a car approaching at 55 or at 50. I think that would tell you, I mean, that's an easy math problem to determine if this is unsafe. The way I would teach this is I would pretend it's a new design and say, what's the minimum length of curve where this is safe at 55, but there's no reconstruction here. This is an existing curve with a given length and an A, and all, you know what I'm talking about. And so we could easily determine on paper if a student has enough time to make a left. Understanding that these are mostly young drivers, I would add that gap distance. I would make it like on the most conservative side. You know this, but maybe other people don't, so that's why I'm explaining it. So I don't mean to be talking down to you, but there's ways we could add all kinds of conservatism to this problem. And it's just a simple, you take a straight edge and you draw, how far down can you see? My concern, and I respect the traffic engineering background here, but my concern is we can say all we want that the drivers coming in at 55 have every right to do that, but the reality is if we have a kid turning left and they can't see the driver in time and there's a crash, again, that's easy. That's a very easy geometric problem. Also, for a kid who's going west and trying to turn left into the school, that's the same gap analysis. And so you know, a lot of times we just have to take local conditions into consideration. And we, as engineers, we can say all we want. It's safe, this meets our standard, but I couldn't live with myself if a year from now we have a kid who gets T-boned trying to turn left in or left out. And if you guys give me the geometry, I'll do the math for my colleagues here. But I don't understand, and I'm sure I'll hear from Lyndon, but I can't understand why we wouldn't accommodate this request. Also, the traffic analysis going to the east, we have cars already going at 30, and I understand, they see the open road, they're gonna speed up. But I know that there's traffic signing measures we could say, so that in this little, that's gotta be I don't know if that's a mile or a quarter mile or a half mile, but in that section before the school, we can keep cars going slow. And then from eastbound, or from the east side going westbound, we could put in some rumble strips or some kind of device. We already have these techniques available to us to slow cars coming from the east, because I'd say that's probably your biggest problem. Those cars are coming at 55, and now we need them to slow down.
Yes.
So either, the County Road Safety Plan has all kinds of strategies, and I guess at the risk of getting yelled at the next time I see my county engineer friends at an event, I got to go with the safety of the kids here. And I'd love to know what the curvature is of that vertical curve, because driving it, I can see some curvature. But again, it'd be an easy gap analysis problem. And I hope you did that. I'm not sure you did, but if you didn't, that would give you all the reason you needed to post it at a slower speed. So that's what I have to say.
I need two things from you: gap analysis and vertical curve.
So a vertical curve, we know that section is in vertical curvature, and what we would do.
Is that a way to say hill or a rise?
Oh, yeah, I'm
Okay.
sorry, yes. I'm sorry. Okay, so this is a vertical curve. So here we have a car, and depending on what speed this car is driving, we take a look at how long that curve is and how much change in direction. So you can see here, this car can't see the ball, right? Because the curve is too curvy. But, so what we do is we'd say, for a given speed of 55, what is the minimum length of curve for this change in grade so that a kid driving, and as engineers, we have all kinds of latitude. We can say they need 2.5 seconds, they need 10 seconds, depending on who the driver is, to see this ball or this kid and stop in time. So that's what sight distance means. Now, gap analysis, if you've ever been at a stoplight that's flashing yellow, somebody has done a gap analysis. We know for given types of vehicles how long it takes to make a turn through another lane. So if I'm sitting like at Highway 7 westbound at Highway 100, there's a flashing yellow there, but the bridge coming at me is a curve. So I need to be able to see the top of the car coming at me, going at whatever design speed I assume, 55, 50, 35. So that's just easy math. If I need 3 seconds to make that left turn, I need to see that car coming at me longer than 3 seconds away, right? So that's the gap analysis. So this student would have to be able to see through the curve, however many seconds it takes for a 16-year-old driver to turn left on a county road, and there's all kinds of standards for that. So they need to be able to see that, no car, no car, no car, safe to turn. But if a car is coming at him at 60, then it's violating that whole understanding. Did I explain that enough? Do you guys get what I mean?
Chair,
Again,
Chair, can I kind of add to that?
Mayor.
So the other thing that's important when seeing exactly what you're talking about, there's a mound, there's a parking lot, there's a mound, then there's a road. And the mound sits about 10, 12 feet high, looking to the left too. So you got to not only watch for cars, you got to look around this mound, you got to look around school buses, things like that before you make the turn.
Well, and if I could just say one more thing. So when we teach road design, we have a choice. We can use a decision site distance, which allows for 10 seconds for a driver to make a decision about what to do. That's if we have a cluttered, it says this right in the facilities design guide. If we have a railroad track, if we have an intersection, all kinds of things, we allow drivers 4 times as much decision site distance. So typically our roads are designed for somebody to have 2.5 seconds to make a decision. Deer, then they got to know to stop, right? You get 2.5 seconds on most roads in America. But when we have a cluttered environment, you get 10. And so I would venture with a 10-second decision site distance, the gap analysis is going to be such that it would very much warrant, God, I hope this long is not going to come back to haunt me, but it would very much warrant a slower speed through there. Because 10 seconds, that's what we use in like an interchange or ramp where we have a railroad track. We want to give people enough time to make a decision. Okay, now I'm done, sorry.
If I can detain us a little more here, just going back to the County Engineers Association letter, I don't care if county engineers yell at me. I think if they're yelling at me, I'm doing the right thing, honestly. I'll just read it verbatim. MnDOT recently completed a speed study on this segment of County State Aid Highway 12 in response to a speed study request from Steele County. The study, which I think came at the request of the city, the study determined that a lower or reduced speed limit was not warranted by roadway conditions. The segment of County State Aid Highway 12 in question is designed as a rural roadway with full shoulders and generous sightlines and can safely accommodate vehicles traveling at the speed limit of 55 miles per hour. Steele County has made recent improvements to this section of roadway by adding dedicated left turn lanes at the 2 school entrances. The speed study cited that these improvements to the roadway enhance the safety of the facility and are a positive measure. And then says Steele County can implement a school zone if they so desire. Members, I just want you to reflect on the entirety of that paragraph, which is doing everything it can to justify an extremely wide rural roadway and doing everything it can to justify and uphold the 55 mile per hour zone through that stretch. That's the whole direction and gist and tone and thrust. The core value is upholding and designing for and making fully through signage traveling next to school 55 miles per hour as you approach a town at the top of a hill, whether or not there are school activities with lots of kids coming and going at all hours, buses coming and going. I mean, I just want to say, can you hear yourself? Please, county engineers, can you hear yourself? We shouldn't have to read paragraphs like this in committees like this.
Senator, is this a
Senator
high
Johnson,
school? Did you say it's a high
This is
school?
preschool, or Chair?
Mayor.
This is preschool to 12th grade.
Oh, so there's many young drivers in this area?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, preschool to
There's
12th
no
grade.
discussion of working with the city, the school board, the school on figuring out how to solve a problem that this community has identified. I read the newspaper articles. They went back numerous times trying to get something done, get something changed. And the county engineers and the county have closed their eyes to this circumstance. It's just amazing to me. Senator Jasinski, you look like you want to say something. Then we have Senator Carlson who wants
No,
to.
Senator, I'll just do closing comments, that's fine.
Senator Carlson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a couple of statements to make, and then I have a question. We had the same kind of an issue in Egan, in front of Egan High School and the attached Dakota Hills Middle School, and a little space between that and Northview Elementary. And we could not get, I would say, get the ear of the county, the city, and the school district to agree to slow that area down. And we finally came up with something that maybe they thought a little bit more about. They called it traffic calming. And we wound up putting in $9 million into that little stretch of about a quarter of a mile. And we did get the cautionary speed limit down to 15. And we put in 2 roundabouts. If you don't have enough of a impetus to slow down, now you have to slow down for the roundabouts. And that was only the whole subject was opened up after a young boy named Patrick Vitek got killed on that road. So I hope that this doesn't take that long for someone to take a serious look at just what it takes for safety around a school district. Now, I did talk just briefly to our counsel, Mr. Greenfield, and at one time we did talk about something that was buried in the law that was called a school zone, and that you didn't really need a sign to designate a school zone. So, but they did put up a sign. We put up a radar readout of speeds, but we did finally, and that was just temporary. We actually had a police officer parked there too. But it was, we had to take serious issues as a city and as a school district to overcome this 85% idea of how fast people can drive past a school. But I do have another thing I noticed on the pictures, and I need to ask Senator Johnson Stewart. All the pictures show a double line, a double yellow line, so you can't pass there. What is the formula for putting that double yellow line on the roadway? It looks like it goes all the way past the school, goes past the railroad tracks, everything. That means you can't pass there. And usually that means that you don't have the visibility that you should have to pass. What is that formula? Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Department of Transportation, the presence of a double yellow line is indicative of a sightline situation. Can you respond to Senator Carlson's question?
Mr. Chair, Senators, yes, the double yellow line means that there's no passing, and we've got many, many, many miles of rural highways that have that situation. If you're not able to see a certain distance around a curve, or if there's a crest, or if there's an intersection where you're not allowed to pass, we will place that double yellow line. But there are various applications where that would make sense, where you would end up placing that. And it depends on the general speed of the area, not just the speed limit, but we also look at prevailing speeds and determine how fast people are approaching each other. And depending on the sight distance you would have, that's when you end up placing the double yellow line to have a no passing zone.
Senator Carlson.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for your answer. But, this prevailing speed, unfortunately, Senator Howe isn't here right now, but I have a place in Egan where the speed limit is 55. I don't think I've ever driven that area except when there is a police officer parked underneath an overpass with his radar on. I don't think I've ever driven that when people are going below 80. So this 85%, really, it just doesn't work there. And this is a 55-mile-an-hour speeding zone. It's right at the intersection of 35E and 494. Everybody speeds through there as fast as they can go. So, sometimes you just have to look at what's safe. What is safe? And I don't think this is safe. It's not safe for the number of students that come out of school at one time and line up to make their left turns, or in the morning when they line up to make their left turns inside. Somebody is going to get hurt. So I appreciate you bringing the bill, Senator Jasinski, and I think we need to make some changes.
All right, Senator Nelson, then Senator Johnson Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, I'll just be very brief. I think, the committee here has been very concerned about what we're reading and seeing, but I have a question. And the Minnesota County Engineers Association, the letter we've been looking at, I just am curious about the second to the last paragraph, and the last sentence says, and the Steele County Board retains the authority under existing statutes to implement a school zone speed limit if deemed appropriate. So I'm wondering, has the county board weighed in on this, and have they deemed that there needs to be a school zone speed limit, and does that solve the problem?
Chair?
Mayor.
So our county commissioner has told us that he believes that the residents need to bring this forward. It got stopped at the county. The county met with the city and the school and had MnDOT go out and do their inspection, and they had stopped. They sent a letter to the school. They did not send a letter to the community or to the city of Medford. They just sent it to the school. We've tried to get them to take a vote on it, and they've said that they were going with what MnDOT told them. So that's where it got left. That's all I can tell you.
So, Madam Chair.
Senator Nelson?
Just a brief follow-up. So I just wanted to understand, so the Steele County Board could institute or initiate this safer, saner speed limit, but they are choosing not to at this moment. And have they formally written that they are refusing to do so?
Chair?
Sir?
Not to my knowledge, they formally haven't wrote anything. They've left it up to the engineer and MnDOT at the last meeting to make a decision. And then from that point, they sent the school the letter, not the city, and they didn't say either way, but I've talked to the commissioner, and it's pretty much, that's where they've left it.
So just to
Senator.
Madam Chair. So in other words, they have, the Steele County Board has ceded its authority to address this problem.
I would say yes, Chair.
Thank you.
I would say yes. It's got left at that meeting, walked out, that they were going to make a decision and get back to us. And like I said, if the superintendent called me and we went up and we read the letter and we talked about it, took it to the council meetings and got a resolution and discussed with John what we needed to do at this point in time, because we really believe somebody is going to get hurt there, and it ain't going to be, it's going to be somebody's kid. And that's important that we get that stopped.
Thank you. Senator Nelson?
Well, just, I guess, a final comment. It's disappointing that the law allows, and apparently the local county board is not willing, which puts the legislature in a very difficult position. We tend not to step into those local decisions, but I think it's clear that, well, I don't want to speak for others, but certainly it sounds very dangerous to keep this speed.
That's very, very.
Thank you. Senators, any other comments? Mr. Johnson.
If I may, MnDOT would be open to a school zone speed limit in this location. We actually feel that's going to be much more effective. Whether it's posted at 45 or 55, it is our expectation that that's not going to change what the speeds are on this corridor. What our experience has been, this type of corridor, based on what's happening and with the wide shoulders and so forth, traffic calming can make a difference. Changing the road design in order to encourage slower speeds, maybe you've got a meandering alignment instead of straight tangent, that can make a difference. But with how it's set up right now, putting up a 45-mile-an-hour speed limit sign is not going to slow traffic down unless there's constant enforcement. And so I just wanted to point that out, that constant enforcement can make a difference with the speed limit sign, but without that, I do not believe we're going to have a change in how people are actually driving this segment of roadway.
Understood. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. And I would offer that up to, who's the Steele County engineer right now? Well,
Madam Chair, Paul, I can't remember the last name right now, but it's Paul, and I can't remember.
so I would encourage, so the Steele County engineer has a treasure trove of options for how they might be able to slow vehicles coming. Again, for me, it's the ones going westbound that I think will be the most troubling. But you are exactly right, of course, that enforcement will have a huge impact on if vehicles indeed slow down. I heard the two testifiers say, though, that the sheriff is out there already, so perhaps partnering with your local law enforcement agency will help. And again, I think as word gets out that it's 45 through there and new drivers do not want a speeding ticket, I think that there's a variety of things that can be done. But I appreciate everybody's questions. Senator Carlson, passing sight distance is 4 times as long as stopping sight distance. So the geometry on that curve is significant. Anybody have any other questions before we lay this over? Senator Jasinski, final words?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I appreciate your support. It adds a lot here. I'm not an engineer, and I know we like to go back and forth.
Come on.
I'm just a real estate broker, but I think the common sense looking at some of this is you have to look at what's going on right there, listen to your residents, the school and the hill and all that come into play. The grain traffic is a huge issue coming over that hill with semis, so I think it's just a good thing to go forward and look forward to your support. And thank you, members, for the long discussion. I feel like I should be getting engineer continuing ed credits.
Yeah, Senator Lang wants the same credits. I'll have to take that up privately. Mr. Johnson, do you have something you want to add?
Madam Chair, one final comment. MnDOT would be willing to look at an experimental speed limit in this area, a temporary speed limit, to see if a 45 would actually slow traffic down. I do believe, though, a school zone speed limit would be much more effective, because if a person sees that type of sign, they're much more likely to slow down than if they just see a regulatory speed limit sign without any understanding why they need to slow down in this particular area.
Duly noted. Thank you. And Senator Jasinski, I have to give you the last word now that he's spoken. Any last words?
Thank you, Madam Chair. No, just appreciate the committee's time and support in getting this taken care of.
Yeah, thank you, because I think we may be saving a life if we do this sooner than later. So we'll lay it over. All right. Thank you, testifiers. Thank you, Mr. Johnson, for coming. I appreciate that. And thank you, Senator Jasinski. Next up is Senate File 1951, Senator Gustafson. And it looks like you have one testifier, Mr. Sam Kruger from Hill Capital Strategies. Senator Gustafson, I understand you have an author's amendment to get us started.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do. I have the A1.
Oh, can we have one of our, what? Oh, Senator Carlson moves the A1. Sorry. I'm getting a bug in my ear here. Senator Carlson moves the A1. Senator Gustafson, to your amendment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This just does what according to DPS, this just does what we want the bill to do. Beyond that, if you want a technical explanation, I would lean on counsel.
Counsel, do you want to give us a technical explanation? I feel remiss if I don't.
Madam Chair, I'd be delighted. The underlying bill establishes a deputy registrar at a location in Circle Pines. The delete everything recognizes that that deputy registrar currently exists at that at a specified location, and authorizes them to provide driver's license agent services to become a full service provider, which is a entity that can provide both vehicle registration and renewals and all the services of a deputy registrar, and a driver's license agent who can provide the renewal of driver's licenses and other forms of actions in that space.
Thank you. And Ms. Boyd, I see there's a fiscal note. Can you walk us through that, please? Members, there's a fiscal note in your packet.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The fiscal note for Senate File 1951 shows a one-time cost of $9,000 in fiscal year 2026. That would be from the driver and vehicle services operating account in the Special Revenue Fund. This is largely for, or this is only for, if you look on the bottom of page 2 under assumptions, the new driver's license agent will obtain one image capture workstation at a cost of approximately $7,000, and then the vendor will install and train the staff at a one-time cost of $700. The next line, the DVS will provide the DLA One Vision machine at a one-time cost of approximately $1,100. That totals about, what is that? Roughly $9,000. That's the expenditure you see above in the table. And then there are some programming costs related to getting a new DLA functionality in the MnDrive system. And those costs can be absorbed under the existing vendor contract. That's almost $9,000 as well. So you'll see that expenditure of just the $9,000 for the equipment on the first page.
Thank you, Ms. Boyd. Is there any questions on the fiscal note? All right, thank you. Senator Gustafson. Oh, we have to vote on the amendment. All in favor of the A1 amendment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right, now, Senator Gustafson, to your bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, committee members. Last year, the legislature enacted a law permitting all deputy registrars outside the metro area to become full-service registrars. This effectively enabled several Greater Minnesota locations to offer driver license services if they chose to do so. However, the legislation inadvertently created service gaps in certain regions, particularly in the North Metro, where I represent, where full-service registrars remain inconveniently located for many residents. So Senate File 1951 addresses a crucial service gap within my district. It allows Circle Pines deputy registrar to become a full-service provider. Currently, Circle Pines residents are forced to travel outside their city to the White Bear Lake Registrar's office, the sole full-service provider in the area, which frequently operates at maximum capacity. Side note is that a couple of years ago, Maplewood inadvertently and without notice closed their full-service office, therefore putting even more strain on the White Bear Lake office. And as somebody who represents that district and uses that office frequently, the line is often wrapped around outside through the parking lot to create service or to be able to do what you need to do. So this bill offers a practical solution by waiving specific DVS location constraints. It allows Circle Pines location to operate as a full-service provider. Notably, this proposal received no opposition from the Deputy Registrars Association. Additionally, the required fiscal investment, as you just heard, is a modest $9,000 one-time appropriation in fiscal year 26. So this will be allocated to ensure Circle Pines office is adequately equipped and its staff properly trained to meet the community's needs. I have Sam Kruger here from Hill Capital Strategies, who is also one of my constituents, and he can testify whenever you're ready, ma'am.
Thank you. Any questions for Senator Gustafson? Committee? All right, then to your testifier. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, Madam Chair. My name is Sam Krieger with Hill Capital Strategies, representing our client, Deputy Registrar number 150 in Circle Pines. Senator Gustafson did a great job explaining what this bill does and the need for it. If you pull up DPS's website and you type in, you can search, your needs and what kind of register or license bureau you need to go to. And if you look at the map, you'll see there's a big gap between Highway 65 and Blaine and Highway 61 all the way over by the border that runs from White Bear Lake to Forest Lake. So this would be a great convenience to the community, especially not just Circle Pines, but Centerville and Lino Lakes. If you don't go to the Blaine location, which is the sole provider for a city of 75,000, you got to drive to White Bear Lake or to Forest Lake, which is about a 20-minute drive. So this would be a great thing for the community, a community that's growing very fast.
Thank you. I have one question. Have you spoken to members of your association in the North Metro area, and have any of them expressed concerns that this change will negatively impact their business?
We have heard no one's come forward with any red flags on this. As you know, I represent the Deputy Registrar Business Owners Association as well. I spoke to the board members there. The owner of this location is a member of MDRA, and he has reached out to a number of folks, including the folks at Anoka County, and we haven't had any concerns raised to us.
So you're confident that this is acceptable to your members?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Senator Jasinski.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Senator Gustafson, for bringing this forward. I've been involved with this for 9 years with deputy registers, and again, if we remember back to the King report, one of those recommendations was to allow other offices to become full service, to provide those services. I think the deputy registrar provide a huge service to our residents in Minnesota here. I still sometimes am concerned about how the department pushes more online, and we're getting that taken away from these businesses, either private or municipal or county. And again, a lot of people can't go online, either they can't get into the system or online, or they just don't feel comfortable going on a computer, and this allows those people to actually go down and get the tabs or get their driver's license right there in front of them. So I think this is a great bill. Thank you for bringing it forward. This is exactly what the King report recommended, was for these deputy registrars to become full service providers and provide the service. May it have an effect on a neighboring territory of another, maybe a little bit, but I think people want that convenience to be able to go the closest as they can and get in without a long wait. So I think this is going to resolve all that. And again, thank you for bringing this forward. It's a great bill.
Agreed. Thank you, Senator Jasinski. Any other senators? Members of the committee, Senator Hur.
Yeah, I just want to make comment in conjunction to Senator Jasinski there. You know, I'm in full support of this because like there was a DMV open in my district, but first time open, they overlook the part of full service. So it only do let me see, car tag or, you know, license plate tag, and later on found out that they couldn't do the driver license, so we had to add the full service the following years. And I wish that I'd known then we will add this then, but this is perfect timing. Nothing is too late. Thank you.
Any other members? Senator Gustafson, any closing comments?
No, thank you. Thanks for the consideration.
All right, with that, Senate File 1951 is laid over. And members, we have one more thing on our agenda. We have Met Council coming up to talk about the Metro Transit Cleaning and Repair Standards Report. Members, you have a copy in your materials as well as a copy of their presentation. I believe we have Brian Funk, who's here, and
Hannah Paulmeyer with the Met Council, and we are just trying to sign into Zoom, Madam Chair.
Oh, Hannah Paulmeyer and Brian Funk. Thank you very much. When you're ready, you can start.
We may be having technical difficulties.
Can one of the pages help? Is that okay if Ms. Ether does that for you? All right, great.
All right. Okay, Madam Chair, committee members, my name is Brian Funk. I serve as Deputy General Manager and Chief Operating Officer at Metro Transit. Today it's my pleasure to provide you with an update on our adopted cleaning and repair standards, as well as the legislative report that Metro Transit submitted last fall as our second in accordance with state law. Next slide, please. Many in this body know that in May 2023, along with the passage of the sales tax that has greatly benefited Metro Transit and transit across our region, Statute 473.412 was passed into law. This required that the Metropolitan Council adopt standards on cleanliness and repair of transit vehicles and stations, including those elements listed here, specifically cleaning, strategy for discovering and removing vandalism and graffiti, a proposal for the timely repair of damage, as well as other cleanliness standards necessary to provide a quality rider experience. The requirement also included information on the council's website to solicit public feedback from our customers and other stakeholders, and required a legislative report due each October. Next slide, please. In September 2023, through the Metropolitan Council, the Metro Transit teams provided the standards that were adopted, which include cleaning interval minimums, inspection minimums, methods and expectations for timely removal of graffiti and vandalism, methods for timely repair of damages, and ways to measure and report on our activities. In September 2023, we submitted our first report, and this past September, we submitted the second annual report. Next slide. The reports that we've submitted include all required elements, including expenditures, location, frequency, and type details of repairs, strategies to deter and address areas that are more challenging, staffing levels, as well as strategies for bringing on additional staff, preventative measures, and a bit of an overlap with the safety and security report that was outlined at last week's committee meeting by our Chief of Staff, Jillian Linnell, and Chief of Police, Joe Dodseth, related to the Transit Rider Code of Conduct. Special thanks to Anna Flintoff, our Assistant Director of Facilities Planning, who has run point on this coordination work across multiple departments at Metro Transit. That work has been invaluable. Next slide, please. In February 2024, Metro Transit installed new, consistent signage at all light rail, BRT, and transit center locations. As shown in the attached picture, this signage provides phone numbers as well as a scannable QR code for our customers and other stakeholders to be taken directly to the form shown to the right of that picture, which allows people to report specific issues or concerns about cleanliness, vandalism, and like issues on our vehicles or at our properties. In addition, we updated our internal processes for receiving and assigning reported issues, worked on staff engagement, including with non-maintenance staff who can be better advocates for our facilities and on our vehicles to report issues before those impact the customer experience. Throughout the first 6 months of 2024, we received more than 1,400 issues regarding public facilities and more than 900 issues about our vehicles. In addition, we conducted outreach elements, including surveying customers at the end of 2023 and in the spring of 2024, which confirmed, of course, that we needed to continue making investments to improve that rider experience. We'll also be building on this survey from spring of 2024 with a new agreement through an online transit planning app called Transit, with what is called the Royale subscription that allows our users to provide direct feedback about their experience so that we can do even better for them. Next slide. The next several slides will show a high-level categorization of the number of cleaning and repair work orders across our system in a tabular format to illustrate where our dedicated employees are spending the bulk of the time. On the first chart, you'll see that over the first 6 months of calendar year 2024, our public facilities teams responded to those more than 1,400 reports and generated work orders, the top category being litter and general cleaning, followed by broken glass, and then biohazards, which includes bodily fluid or suspected bodily fluid reports, followed by graffiti and vandalism. Onboard our vehicles, the top two categories were the same, biohazard or bodily fluid categories, followed by general graffiti and vandalism with more than 900 generated work orders. Next slide, please. One more. There we go. On this slide, what we're showing is that we have a standard cleaning interval set up at each of our facility types, ranging from daily, every 2 days, to weekly, as sort of a preventative measure, the kind of touch base that we know we need. Of course, our goal is to respond even sooner when we see reports of issues from customers, employees, or other stakeholders. On this chart, you'll see light rail stations were visited an average of 9.5 times per week, and we adhered 91% of the time to our daily visit interval. Part of the reason that it doesn't line up perfectly is some stations require multiple visits per day, while other stations may not have the same need and can, depending on staffing or other necessary activities, get by with visits more on an every other day basis. You'll see when it comes to the bus rapid transit and arterial bus rapid transit stations, there's a little bit of a variability in how frequently we're able to get there each and every day, but in both cases, on average, we're visiting on nearly a daily basis. Next slide, please. Slide 8 shows repair metrics highlighting the first half of the year. In this case, you'll see that we have standards we set for graffiti and broken glass in the top 2 rows, which are focused on our primary vehicle types of buses and light rail. They're showing that bus and light rail vehicles, respectively, our teams are addressing standard graffiti in 1 day or less between 90 and 99% of the time. I'll note that for graffiti that's offensive or obscene, removal is conducted as soon as possible, and in some cases, we'll take those vehicles out of service immediately. Likewise, in the center categories, you can see that for our facilities used by customers, we have a very high rate of graffiti being addressed in less than 1 week, with an average removal time of less than 3 days in all cases. And finally, the bottom categories focused on broken glass at shelters and stations. In this case, you'll see that the average cleanup time is all less than 1 day. Average replacement time for glass, including custom glass, is less than 1 week. In addition, We also work when we are constructing new facilities or new projects to identify glass sizes that are able to be shared across projects so we can limit custom fabrication. Next slide, please. In addition to staff who are charged with cleaning and maintaining facilities on our team and vehicles, we have been adding to both the ranks as well as equipment that's being used. In the picture on the left, we have a partnership that was formed last year for Listening House and their Work Now program. These participants are serving the Green Line along the University Avenue corridor and was launched to allow individuals who are in job readiness programs and are experiencing homelessness the opportunity to help us take care of a community asset, Green Line, while finding a path towards continued employment and stability. The picture labeled Figure 8, which is included in the report, is a new style of bus seat that's been installed on our Metro A-Line buses and is a part of every new bus purchase that has been ordered since mid-2024. These are cushioned vinyl seat cover that fits within an existing seating system but is much cleaner and more resistant to damage and vandalism than previous seat covers that have been utilized. Our goal is a continued rollout, starting with those BRT lines because of their high ridership. But as I mentioned before, each subsequent bus order for new vehicles will have these seats included. We've also added to our ranks of cleaners for light rail vehicles at platforms and are currently set up to do that light cleaning and sweeping at Mall of America, Target Field, and Union Depot from about 6 in the morning until 8 at night. And we aim to provide the start of every single trip with a clean vehicle that we hope enhances that customer experience. And below that is an initiative we launched last year for a similar program with buses at 3 transit center locations. We're continuing to add staff and are currently focused at the Brooklyn Center Transit Center, Mall of America, and as time allows, the Rosedale Transit Center. These hubs are great connection points for the existing bus rapid transit service as well as heavily used local route service. Next slide. Before I conclude today and stand for questions, I wanted to introduce some approaches of initiatives that Metro Transit has put in place to attempt to deter damage on our system. On the left, slide figures 11 and 12 preceded work that's currently underway for station redesign at Lake Street Midtown on the Metro Blue Line in Minneapolis. The entire interior of both towers was given a fresh renovation, including anti-graffiti wallpaper, stair cleaning, escalator and elevator repair, which intends to provide a better experience and is supported by the addition of on-site staff via supplemental security. So far, we've seen a dramatic decrease in graffiti and vandalism at this station. In the center is a light rail signal crossing house that houses equipment required to operate gate arms along Metro Blue Line, in this case, in South Minneapolis. This design in coordination with a local artist has resulted in a dramatic decrease in vandalism to otherwise would be a blank gray or steel surface and has created an environment that none of us want to see when that happens. These projects are continuing in earnest through our own internal public art campaign, which includes an online registration for local artists to become part of a library as new projects are identified and funding streams are put into place each year. Finally, on the right side, pictures highlight a project working to deter damage of bus shelter glass. This body may recognize that we have nearly 9,000 bus stops across the Metro Transit region and nearly 1,000 that include shelters. On top is a scene that's all too familiar, which involved someone breaking glass at one of the stations. These stations are designed to keep customers out of rain, snow, wind, and otherwise not great outdoor environments. So again, we partnered with local artists on a program to install clings on the glass, which has had a dramatic effect on people's respect for the property, and it's a program that we're going to continue to invest on in the future. This complements initiatives to identify materials that are able to handle challenging urban environments from both weather and road traffic, as well as stand up to our cleaning and repairs. Next slide. And so finally, Madam Chair and committee members, thank you for your time today. I hope that the highlights from this report we submitted last fall will be useful. I'll be happy to stand by for any questions. And finally, I would just like to make sure the committee knows that the teams at Metro Transit responsible for cleaning and repair of our facilities and vehicles are a dedicated bunch. We know creating a welcoming environment leads to happier customers, repeat customers, as well as new customers, and it's the aim of our teams to provide that for as many trips as we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Funk. Members, do you have any questions? I have one quick question. Looking at the art cling that was at the last picture, and you said that it raises awareness and respect for the glass. Does it also hold the glass together, or how does that actually work?
Madam Chair and committee members, so this film that goes over will provide somewhat of that safety element, like a glass on a windshield of a car, so that it's less prone to shatter all over the sidewalk or the street. It's designed more as a protective measure to deter the graffiti, but it does provide some element of that on an interim basis until we can swap out the complete panel.
Thank you. Questions, anybody? Well, thank you. This is very interesting. On the way in today, MnDOT was painting the noise walls, painting over graffiti on the noise walls on the 94 corridor. And I'm really intrigued by this Crossing House mural and would love to know how much that costs. I'm assuming it's cost prohibitive for a noise wall, but interesting to see what you're doing to keep graffiti down. So that's great. Without any other questions, I thank both of you for your time in coming today. Members, that being the end of our agenda, I guess we're adjourned.